but like the actual object, or it just looked like that?
No, it was like literally like Dick of a Balls.
It's like a very sexy. It's a very sexy place, I guess. Here we are, and welcome to a Hockey Night in Canada edition of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. Not because Lily Becker or I care much about hockey, but we are going to talk about the brilliant TV show called Shoresy on Hulu is where we watched it. And we have with us our official hockey correspondent and complainer-in-chief, Joshy Kroo. Josh, welcome back.
Good to be here, guys.
Before we get into the show, I want to kick off with a couple of just like top stories here. And one is I must deliver to Mom. Now she's not on the show right now, but she's going to listen. Probably one of the biggest delayed I Told You shows of all time, because if there's a movie I have constantly talked trash of that most people like, and I have always blamed Mom for taking me to see it in the theater, it was E.T. The trauma I endured from that movie as a kid, just with me forever. We saw an ad for the 40th anniversary screening when we took the kids to see DC Super Pets, which was excellent, and it really made me want to see E.T. again. So I sat and I watched it with the kids, and I, for one, in my 40s, watching this movie, going like, "Wow, this really is an incredible masterpiece." I can't say my kids did. I think my kids gave it a rent, and the other one I think really embodied my original experience with the movie. But I do have to tell Mom, I told you show, you get it, you're a genius. I went back, I changed my Letterboxd entry to 4 something. Sounds like someone got an
Like
email.
a minus, a negative number.
Oh, so like you're the four people that use Letterboxd will now read your review.
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't do.
Let's be clear
that
thing never caught on, right?
Yeah, but I just use it to keep track of all the movies I've seen.
Yeah, which is everything.
There's a few
people.
Every
movie.
Yeah, I keep track of all the movies, and I have my watch list there. And then I keep track of what I rated them. It's actually like I'm not rating them to add to some aggregate score. That's one thing I feel bad about. But I like to keep track of like, oh, where did I put this in the ladder of how I feel about certain movies, because sometimes I want to reevaluate something. That's the only thing that I don't love about Letterboxd, is that I'm trying to give not trying to give a score that sways other people. It's really for my own records. And then the other thing is, so anyway, so that's really what I have to report here at the top. Have any of you seen E.T. recently? Oh, and the other thing is that like it made me really resent Stranger Things.
You needed an additional reason.
I wouldn't recommend
you didn't
watching
have
anything from the 80s.
I was just saying,
if you're interested in Stranger Things.
Season 4 came out, and then you were like, you know what? I don't have enough reasons to resent this show.
Yeah, the last 2 episodes were season 5.
Right, exactly.
Oh, I didn't see season 4 yet.
Well, you don't need to. You can watch season 4 and 5 because the last 2 episodes were like 9 hours.
I would skip the season.
It took me longer to watch the last 2 episodes of Stranger Things than RRR.
Okay.
The last episode of Stranger Things is longer than Top Gun in and of itself.
So, but my point is this, is that when everyone always talks about, oh my
Top
God, it channels Amblin Entertainment, and it totally does, down to the wardrobe. And then when you go back to the source, sometimes you're like, oh, that's the thing people are excited about. This time I watched it and I was like, wow, Steven Spielberg. And I know it's not very novel.
Shai called me and Becky, and he's like, Steven Spielberg, guys. And we were like, really?
We know.
You think? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Stranger Things is sort of like Target's version of the 80s. I think
it's like the version of those T-shirts that are like,
we got like nostalgic
vintage
retro T-shirts. We're gonna buy them at Target. That's what Stranger Things is.
Right.
Well said. Well said. Okay, Josh, that's a great place for us to start because we can't do anything with you unless we hear your complaints. So let's get your complaints off at the top, and then we'll dig into Shoresy because we're really going to need your expertise to understand the deeper things going on.
Well, in preparation for this podcast, my family and I moved to Canada for a week, and so all of my complaints are going to be about Canada.
Amazing.
Am I allowed to curse, or is it going to be one of those ones where parental?
You can't do Shoresy. And not be allowed to curse.
Also, I got to tell you, the kids who listen to the show most are yours, and so I think that it's just say whatever.
I'm going to curse for my kids right now because they probably heard me curse enough. Holy fuck, Canada is a mess.
Really?
What is wrong with this country?
Make us feel better.
Let me give you an example of trying to get to urgent care with my children. All right. I call like one of the two places that I'm allowed to call, and after going through all like the like fun like pousser un pour anglais, push you for English, whatever.
Wait, do you still have
finally
Medicare?
Go through. No.
Oh,
I haven't paid taxes in Canada because I don't live there, so I don't get Medicare.
Okay.
But even if I did pay taxes, you couldn't find a doctor anyway, so it's completely irrelevant. But so finally I go through all like the push the buttons, and then it's like, okay, another like push 9 for English, and then it's like I'll give the English equivalent of what it said. It's like, sorry, this option is not available. And just hangs up. I'm like, wait, what? So that was one. There are no rental cars apparently in the entirety of Canada. All of Canada. I literally looked in all of Montreal.
So you couldn't like drive. You couldn't like take a cab to Hull.
No, there are no rental cars. I literally searched the entire greater Montreal area has no rental cars. And if you want to rent
Island,
the equivalent of a Lada, it's $2,000 for a week. I don't know what the rental car. So I had to use something called Turo.
Oh, I've used Turo.
Which is quite convenient, which is the Airbnb. But then, like the idiot that I am, I backed up the car into one of like the 15 different recycling bins that you have to have in Montreal and broke the taillight.
Oh no.
Hey, but what's Turo?
Turo is like Airbnb for cars.
Yeah, Lily, you'll love this. You and Jose will love this.
What?
You
so I can lend out my car to somebody?
And you
can
borrow
it's actually pretty
someone's
convenient.
car.
But you have to you have to wash your car a lot. Like
I can't lend my car to anyone.
In our crappy like rundown Turo Ford Escape, and driving up north to near where your country house is. My kids love saying St. Donut. We're driving up there, and all of a sudden the car like veers hard to the right, and I'm like, oh my god, what is happening? And lo and behold, because it's Canada, I've never seen this. I live in the South. It's really hot. There are two deep grooves in the highway where apparently the wheels of the trucks on the hot pavement have created these big indentures. So you're basically like on a roller coaster path. And if you try to get out of it, your car is like likely to swerve into the ditch. So when I got up north and asked about this,
the sun of Canada melted the pavement.
I live in Georgia. I've never seen this. So
Montreal gets pretty hot.
I'm like, hotter than Georgia, so that like literally the grooves of the cars are.
I think it's more a statement on the quality of the pavement they use.
Maybe it's because they have to prioritize the cold of the winter. Maybe it was caused by those, the wheels with the chains on them that people have.
Have you seen the size of the potholes in Canada? It's literally like it's like Stranger Things when the earth opens up and like all the come out. Yes. That's like what the potholes are like in Montreal.
This is amazing because Josh has turned into one of our parents right before our one visit to Montreal.
I'll go full parent. We pay 65% taxes and have grooves in the road and can't find a doctor. I tried explaining that to my children. I'm like, so you guys, if you earned $100, the government would take 35%. You would only get to keep $35 of that. And also you couldn't find a doctor or drive on the roads. Welcome to Canada, my friends. And then I went to the freaking airport. There's hundreds of people lined up to go to the States. So of course we only have 2 US customs agents an hour and a half later.
Oh my god!
I heard you have to go to the airport in Canada about 4 hours before.
And then I paid $20.
It happened to me before. It took me 3 hours, three and a half hours to get to my.
I'm like, what are we doing? It's
$20 for a sandwich.
TSA is like 9/11 just happened. I literally had to strip to like my boxer shorts to get this stuff in. It's like I'm like, what? I thought they were going to put me through the damn X-ray machine. I'm like, guys, this is like Canada. If you're listening,
they don't want you.
you're
They
a
don't.
mess.
They don't want you smuggling out any toonies. Hard currency.
I'm like,
worried
apparently all
about
the
our-
holdups are for the Arrive Canada COVID app, and I spend like half hour filling it in, all the vaccine and passport, everything, contact information, and then I walk in and someone's like, "You got it? Yeah, sure, go." Great. What is the point of all of this? It
That is
unbelievable.
amazing.
But I assume you had a wonderful time with your family.
It
And-
was fantastic
and-
to be
and-
there. I loved going around Montreal. We went to beauties. Like we had a great
Oh,
time.
fun.
But Canada, you're a mess. That's all I can say.
That's
Except
amazing.
for Shoresy, that thing's great.
Josh gives.
Speaking-
Well, Canadian TV shows are pretty much always awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
Yes, so.
So Shorzy is a spin-off of Letterkenny, which I've been watching, and I heard the first reference to Shorzy.
Letterkenny is another TV series.
Another TV show that has 10 seasons.
Yeah, it's 68
Whoa.
episodes.
Wait. Let's clarify. It's not like the 10 seasons of Flash where there's like 23
Yeah,
episodes
no,
each. So
no,
you want to
yeah.
kill yourself?
There's
It's like 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's like 68 total episodes.
But you know what? It's 6 high quality. So Letterkenny is a little, I would say, harder to get into. Although I am now watching it because I've now watched Shorzy, and I'm like, I need more of Jared Leso is the name of the. But by the way,
Lesso?
what a Canadian.
I would say
thing-
Lesso. It's 2 S's, right?
But what a
Jared?
Canadian thing to have is that, like, yeah, it's like Jared Leto, but like slightly different.
Leto?
It's Jared Leso.
Lesso.
It's like
Jared
the guy
Lesso.
from Morbius.
Except his name is Kesso.
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 Whatever.
Kesso.
Kesso. Jared
No,
Leso.
no.
Jared
I mean, it's
Jared Kesso.
Keeso.
okay.
Kesso.
Whatever.
Kesso.
Same
Jared Keeso.
same artist, the director Jacob Tierney, who's amazing, and I feel like went to Dawson with one of you or something like that.
No,
He
but
has Becky
we have
knows his
direct
sister.
we have direct family. We are very adjacent to Jacob Tierney. That's
Yeah.
all. We don't know him, but we're adjacent.
I'm sure he works
Yeah.
with like Josh Osheroff or something. Come on.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
I went backpacking in Argentina with his younger sister.
I went back.
Okay,
in
that's pretty
Argentina with
impressive.
Josh.
That's close.
That's very close.
Also, yeah, so Shy went backpacking with me. No connection to either
No
of these
connection.
people.
Wait, before we get into it, at the very top, I need to.
And Becky, you get an I Told You show because you told me to watch.
It's more than an I Told You show. It's not that it's an I Told You show. It's that as soon as we were pitched on the show, we were all immediately, yes, we're going to watch it.
There was no resistance
But
to it.
The discovery came from my friend Joey, my dear friend Joey, who's recorded with us in the past, guy who lived in a van, no longer lives in a van. And he's the one that discovered this.
But in fairness, he looks like
in
he lives in a
fairness,
van. He looks like he
I had
lives in a
actually
van.
been watching
Looks
the
like a
show
surfer.
before I started getting all these pings from you. I wish I had
Oh,
told
really?
you about it. I was
Oh,
like,
interesting.
Yeah, because I'm in this hockey world.
As far as I know,
Right. So did you Did you
Joey-
hear about it from your hockey friends?
Well, so there's a very famous hockey podcast called Spitting Chicklets, and one of the commentators
Oh my
is
God,
the guy that's
really?
in the show. So RA, like if you watch the beginning of the show, right? Like when
Yeah,
it first
RA.
opens, you see the 4 commentators. The guy with the big Boston accent, who they literally call by his name, Rear Admiral, which is RA, they reference it. He's from Spitting Chicklets, so they were always pumping up the show on their podcast.
Well, as far as I know, Joey discovered this show and then shared that discovery. You know, it's
He
one
doesn't
of those
even play hockey.
Doesn't play. I mean, he's a surfer, lives in Southern
San Diego.
California. And he came across this show. He discovered it as far as, and I feel like it's not an I Told You show. It's like
a
it's the
discovery.
algorithm. It's like the human algorithm award.
I
you
mean,
know?
if someone does pitch me a show that's extremely Canadian, like I'm 100%
You're
on
gonna
board.
100% watching. There's no convincing needed.
Yeah. If you tell me a show is is very Canadian,
I feel
will
like
watch
Josh
it.
came about this show in a more legitimate way.
Yeah.
In terms of like you literally listen to this podcast. How much do you
podcast
love
is like-
hockey?
the
On like a scale of
podcast is
1 to
like-
10, how much are you
So-
into hockey?
So the
He
guys
likes
are
talking
like
the way I like
true-
movies.
But the guys are like true jackasses on the podcast, but they always bring on guests to be interviewed. And it's basically like the real life Shoresy equivalent of these stories. Like the stories of the pranks and the ridiculousness is all what like NHL hockey is about.
But is your hockey team like that?
I can share tidbits about my hockey. I went through actually just thinking about like
Josh
what it's
can't
like.
share it.
Are
So
those?
that's-
No, I can't. No.
Are the
I want to
antics?
share.
Have
Do you have a current
experienced-
hockey team?
I have multiple. So currently, I'm playing for a
Multiple.
team called the Victorious Secrets.
This is how did we not know about this?
I literally
Previously
went
to
through
today.
it because I was thinking about some of like the little nuances, and it's true. There's 3 things that happen with people that you play hockey with. Some people have like regular name, like my name. Nobody refers to me by like they don't add anything onto my name. But you can either add a Y or an ER onto everybody's name. So I went through a list of people that I played with.
This is a
and thought
hockey
about
thing? Is this a
what I
hockey
call
thing?
Yeah, this is a very. I
So,
knew this is a
like-
common hockey thing.
So, like, for example, I played with a buddy named Jordan Brooks. He's Brooksy. Tim
Oh.
becomes Timmy. I played with a lot of Toms that became Tommies. Joe becomes Joey. Bill, Billy. Dave, Davey. There was a goalie, Napolitano, that got shortened to Nappy.
Amazing.
Paul White became Paulie. Pete became Petey. There's a guy named Jeff that's Jefe. I don't get that one.
Because
Well,
that's
because
Spanish.
that's Spanish.
Well, yeah, I understand.
Oh.
but it doesn't fit the
really
model.
fit.
Okay, it's like
Doesn't fit
you
the
know.
model, but it's just too cool a nickname to not do it,
Yeah.
I guess.
But then like Wayne becomes Wayner, you know.
There's other
Or-
like the other combination for ER.
Exactly. And it gets very confusing when people already have a Y in their name. So like played with a guy named like Vinny, Jamie, Corey, then it gets confusing because
Well,
you can't do like the
There's
Corey
got to
or-
be a Corey or a Jamie though if it's hockey. 'Cause-
Right. And you're just Crew
So-
because that's such a great name. They're not going to call you Crewy.
yeah, or Joshy. That would just be weird.
Or
Um,
Joshy.
But I
Josh,
did play my previous team when I was in New York was actually sponsored. They were called the Vaseline Men because we were sponsored.
Josh, you
the
should have a
Vaseline
show.
brand.
You should have a
hold on.
show.
What were they sponsored by?
We were
Vaseline.
sponsored. So one of the guys worked at Unilever, Bobby,
Amazing.
and I'm not
Wow.
making this up. And I think he would basically just
You couldn't make
coerce
this up.
coerce the Vaseline team to pay like whatever the $5,000 or whatever it was to sponsor our team, and we had to report back to the Vaseline team on our winnings and losings. And the
Amazing.
jersey, which I sometimes wear here, and people really get a kick out of it, is a giant Vaseline logo, which is
Oh my
spectacular if you're a
God.
hockey player.
That is amazing.
that's incredible.
I thought nothing could beat
So-
the Victoria's Secrets, but this does.
And the blue.
Victoria's
Wow.
Secrets, my uniforms are bright pink.
That's now the blueberry but so like the blueberry Sudbury Bulldogs or the Sudbury Blueberry
Blueberry
Bulldogs
Bulldogs.
is not even remotely off the like is not
I
even
I
weird.
mean, that's
One
that
of
is
my
totally
favorite,
plausible.
and one of my favorite bits is how people keep changing the names, like
Names.
cantaloupe,
The fruit.
cockaboos.
The fruit
Oh, yeah.
and the dog.
Like
Yeah.
I played against a team last year called the Chodes. I think they finished in last place and they won the championship the following year, but then they changed it. They had to change their name to the Ass Hats. Like this is what it's like.
Okay, but are you not you? Do you not feel complete if you're not on a team?
Wait,
I
can we
literally, when I'm moving to a city, I have to look at the proximity to the hockey rinks because that's like it's what
Wow.
I do.
Yeah, I mean
Wow.
Brandon, my neighbor Brandon learned to play hockey in the last few years and plays in one of these leagues now. I presume his last name is Jones. I'm sure he's Jonesy.
Jonesy,
He loves
I mean,
it.
come on.
He loves it, and he loves it. And and these now, Josh. So what we're talking about here is Shorzy is about a senior league AAA whale shit. They refer to it many times. Team in Sudbury, Ontario, a real place that we had to.
Town, yeah.
And what's great is like they refer to the mining and mineral and things that are produced in Sudbury, all things that if you live in Canada, because there's not that much to learn in the history, that you end up having to memorize in school. Iron ore and blueberries and whatever. And it is there. It's the team. It's a little bit of a Ted Lasso, a classic kind of the team's about to run out of money. Nobody wants to see them. They're on a losing streak. And I don't know if he's the best player or the lead player.
Seems
on
to be the
team.
captain of
He's
the
sort of like
team.
the leader of the de facto leader of the team.
Yeah,
I
it
think
seems like in a captain type role.
And he convinces the owner of the team, or not the owner, the GM of the team, who is a second generation.
I
owner,
think she is the owner.
or maybe she's the owner, to kind of invest in some new players and guarantees that they're not going to lose We're not going to, they're going to win every game for the rest of the season.
Jean-Jacques Frankie Jacques Jean.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. So Josh, okay, help us in here. Help us here. Just situate this kind of hockey. Like, what is this the same as slap shot? Is this
okay? These guys are never going to make it in the NHL. It's probably, I don't even know if you would call it like AAA minor league, whatever it is. I think it's sort of like, so you've got multiple leagues, right? You've got like the NHL, which is the big one. Then you've got 52 different Canadian leagues, like the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, the Ontario Hockey League, the Western Hockey League. Like all those players are probably not going to make it, but they're like the drafted players that are like working their way up the minor league systems.
So that's
then
like
you've
the
got
AAA.
That's like the AAA. Then you've got like the ECHL, like the Eastern Continental Hockey League, which is like most of it, like guys that play in the league that I have sometimes play there, like the ref in that league. And then you've probably got like this stuff.
got it? Okay,
Which is like a local.
Like there's still
town.
fans that are apparently paying to see it, but like they're not
Right.
going to NHL. These guys.
got it. But they like seeing their team and
No, they reference the fact that all of these guys have day jobs. Like they're not coming to warm up before a game. They have jobs and families. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So
But
that's
they're still probably better than any average person that plays hockey.
I mean, they're probably guys that played like AAA, AA, whatever the equivalent.
Right.
so
They reference that.
So there are different positions that are discussed in this, and by the way, I like hockey. I like hockey more than soccer, but like they're not. Neither of them are competing for.
You got to go
space
to a live hockey game. It's unbelievable. But anyway, different story.
I love a live hockey game. I do love a live hockey game, but I'm just saying that like it is more Ted Lasso. The premise of Ted Lasso is that a guy who's never coached soccer in his life learns it on the plane and can win, and we believe it partially because we're American. But hockey seems that there seems to be a little more complexity, and there's some different positions and I would say themes associated with positions. So first of all, there's like the enforcer type guys, right? That now we've seen this before in the movie like Goon, and those are the three gyms, right? The three gyms.
That's like in the Nintendo game when you'd have to pick
The
your
big-
little
yeah.
player and you make like the big beefy ones, right?
that can't really skate.
They can't.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And their
Are
job
they
is
just
to
there to box? Are they just boxers? What do they do?
they're like the lowest level because, well, actually, no. I guess they score at one point in the show, so
Yeah.
they can clearly play to some degree.
But that's a trick
It's
play.
very secondary to what they're supposed to be doing.
They're
supposed
there
to be
protect
like on
the
defense.
players.
and they use an
Yeah.
They're like-
expression, fill them in.
They're like
Cut 'em
big.
up and
They're like
fill 'em in.
They're like linebackers.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
linebackers are on defense, Lily. They're like
Aren't these guys
offensive
like
linemen.
defending? Oh, offensive linemen.
They're more
Okay.
like
So, yeah,
so. Josh, explain it to
they're
me.
like the
Explain it.
goons. They're the goons, but there's like I had never heard this expression, but I'm assuming it refers to like basically beating the crap out of people and getting penalties, because it's like run them up is run up the score, and fill them in is like fight and take penalties.
Ah,
Okay, got it. All right.
Okay.
And so
I had
you
no
have
idea what
those
that meant.
guys. They have those guys. Then they bring in these like 5 different ringers who are 4 or 5 different ringers, which are amazing. The veteran presence, guys who hate to lose, which is such a great theme. And there's Jean-Jacques. What's his name? I don't know. The French Canadian
Jean-Jacques Frankie,
Frankie.
Jacques Jean, JJ Frankie,
They
JJ.
call him JJ or Frankie.
who is dating Laurence Leboeuf, who I had no idea is a real French Canadian actor. She's like a
That's amazing.
star.
But also the fact that they just Becky, I have a question for you. It reminded me so much of like David Mamet writing and directing, in that they repeat the same lines back and forth over and over again, and they like just cut back and forth really fast. So
I said that in the first episode. I thought it's very Mamet.
like I love when they're like François Leboeuf, François Leboeuf, François Leboeuf. Like they just,
I mean, I think it achieves a few things. One, the more you repeat something, the funnier it becomes, right? And then it's also I mean, I think it's
Like
doing
the
that, and
whole-
it's part of the the memory retention of the show, so you know very quickly who everyone is because they keep repeating the same thing.
It's like when he and it's Laurence Leboeuf, not Francois.
Laurence Leboeuf,
You're
yeah,
right.
Laurence
So we're calling
Leboeuf.
her Francois, but when no, it's fine. And then when the guy keeps going, settle down.
Settle down. I mean, let's be clear. Settle down is part of the lexicon between me, Josh, and Bronze. But like, I laughed so hard every time they said settle down. And then there's the other guy that says it. So there's a lot of repeating and sort of like language. And then there's this whole element of, I don't know. I think there's a lot of, it seems that more than other sports in hockey, there are superstitions and rituals like them eating the ice cream after every game and tapping the stick and all that. Tell us a little bit about the rituals around hockey.
Let me give you my favorite ritual when I was growing up.
Yes.
My favorite ritual, and Shai, you will appreciate this, and probably Becky and Lily. At every hockey game, David Rebo, before we were with I don't even know what the Wildcats, coached by my dad. It was like David Rebo and Alan, like that whole crowd. Rebo, every game would get McDonald's and barf after the first period on the bench. That was the thing. And if you talk to hockey players, the superstitions are insane. First of all, do you know about the playoff beards?
I do know about playoff beards.
Yeah.
So they don't shave once the playoff starts through the end. But then there are guys that are like, I have to wear certain shirt, underwear, retape my stick every period, put on my left skate before my right. I mean, it's crazy. Like,
but do you think it's more than in other sports? Like, it's just more particular to hockey?
No, I bet baseball players do it too. You watch a baseball player, they'll adjust their gloves
They're like,
6 times
have all
before
these,
they bat. I think it's just sports in general.
But I will say
hockey players might be weird. They might
what
be
I
weird.
like what I like about this show is they pick, one or two really strange things and they drill down on it, and it is there in every. So for example, Shoresy needing to
take a shit.
Take
really
a shit.
Like, how many times can I tell you? I'm like, guys, we're about to get on the ice. They're like, oh, where's Carl? Carl's taking a shit, like in all his equipment. Like this happens.
Like that?
And then, like some guys will run off the bench in the middle of the game to take a shit. Like it's unbelievable. I'm like,
so clearly,
it's so gross to take a shit. In
hockey players so the show does justice to the idiosyncrasies of hockey.
I think some of that stuff for sure. I mean, I've never seen a locker room where it's like fully open, but it's pretty close to like that, where you probably just have like a toilet on the side and like, that would not surprise me.
But they did a good job, is what you're saying, to give you a window into the weirdness.
I think the locker room is like the best part of hockey. Like that's where, everyone's coming in and ripping each other or whatever. Like, it's
I've never seen a show with this many insults ever.
The referee piece is so true. Like that is my favorite part of the show.
Really?
I actually wrote them down because they were so funny.
So just tell us a little bit about that, and then this term chirping, which I had not heard before this. So tell us.
So the referee piece, especially in like men's league hockey, which is basically what he's doing. He's like going Friday night refereeing men's league hockey.
Right, because that's Shorzy's other job, is that he referees just like
everybody knows all the refs. You're all familiar with them. Some of the refs play on teams with you, and so often you'll just find the ref, like either joking around or like hanging over the boards, not even watching the play. Like it depends. And there's such characters. You're like, oh, this ref like freaking hates our team. You're in for a shitty game. Other refs are like on a power trip because they're the ref. I mean, it's men's league refereeing, but it's actually, with COVID, it's a really big problem. They can't find enough referees right now, and the parents are such assholes to the refs that everyone's quitting reffing. But that is so true to what it is like. It's hilarious because they take such. It's like, think about guys like me playing hockey, and they take such shit from the players, and the insults are just ridiculous. It's like,
and that's what.
Do they really insult?
Is that what chirping is called?
Not like Shorzy. No, so chirping is different. Chirping, I've only really heard the term in the last like 4 or 5 years, is basically just teams players getting under each other's skin, like chirping at each other.
Got it. Okay.
On the ice.
It's basically trash talk. Chirping is trash talking, which, I mean, I don't see it as much in men's league, but in the NHL there, and like when I tell you I listen to this podcast, like they talk about who the worst trash talkers are and the best trash talk. Like it's a thing. But just like basketball, right? Like, you know that they're trash talking each other all the time. You just can't always hear it.
Football too.
Yeah, for sure. So
Got it.
chirping is like.
And is there any special
part of the
word
game.
for the way they talk to the refs?
Uh,
With how the ref interacts with the players? Because those
the
insults are
amount of
insane.
the refs there's so many insults in this show that you have to pause and rewind.
I don't know how they could write this many.
I mean, it's so. I wrote down 2 of my favorite ones from the first episode. It was just so funny. Like, you know what's fucked? The amount of times your mom faked a jellyfish thing to get me to pee on her.
That was amazing.
That's on the first episode,
funny.
no? Or the second
so funny.
episode?
The first, I think it was the first episode. I was
episode.
like, oh my God, it's just so funny. Like, I feel like they just thought of like,
and like the smoke meat, they make a few jokes with like smoke meat, just very, very niche specific things, but turn
it was
into an
it was
insult.
actually really fun to watch it with Joey, who's rewatching it with me this week, and explaining all of the really particular Canadian references to him, because, and then it makes me realize how many things are being said that I don't understand, that are like a different level because it's from a particular place. Like, I understand like the Quebecois references you really get and general ones like that, but like, or anything to do with Montreal, and then you're like, oh, like all the Ontario ones, like I don't like they get
so there's,
really,
but there's like a whole lingo. Like, I actually just wrote down a bunch of the terms because you start to write them down, you're like, oh my God, there's a whole language. Okay, so like goose egg, which you hear all the time, like goose or goose egg means you basically got shut out. You got zero.
Got it.
Uh-huh.
Or shut somebody out.
Because it's a zero.
You've got
gotcha.
apple. An apple is an assist. Like when you assist on
amazing.
A goal. A bucket is someone's helmet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that I got. That I figured.
A puck is a biscuit.
That I
call it a biscuit. A celly is when you celebrate after the goal.
Oh, wow. These are words that are homonyms, because a celly I thought was like a cell phone in the 90s.
No. Flow is someone's hair, that like if you have good flow, it's like flowing out of the back of your helmet. Or like good flow. And if you every year there's actually, I think, a contest in Minnesota or Minneapolis, wherever it is, where they like celebrate like the best hockey flows, which are hilarious.
Amazing.
Which typically involves some horrible facial hair and ridiculous mullets.
I feel like their helmets, now that you bring up the helmets, should be bigger. They don't really cover. Is that why they have no teeth?
Yes. So those are teeth are, I mean, that's
Correct.
why the podcast is called Spitting Chiclets, because chiclets are meant to be teeth. Like a gong show. I don't know if they say it in the game. Like a gong show is when a game just gets totally out of hand. Either like the score is ridiculous, or hey, it's a gong show. Like people are just beating the crap out of each other and not playing.
Speaking of people fighting, there's a story. There's a part in the show where they say there's brawls and there's warm-up brawls. What is the difference between a brawl and a warm-up brawl?
I mean, I think in reference to the show, which is not something like, it's not like we have warm-up brawls, but it's basically like, hey, so a lot of the time when you actually see hockey, and they do this in Goon, right? Like they will say, hey, you want to go? Yeah, let's go. And then it's like a premeditated fight. I think the warm-up brawl was like, hey, we didn't even make, so
the game didn't even start yet.
Yeah, the game
at that
didn't
point.
Even start.
They were still in warm-ups when the massive fight, when Shorzy.
So it's a more egregious crime then, because the game was
right. Okay. Like 2 years ago, there was a guy on the Washington Capitals, just for shy, who like beat the crap out of a couple of the New York Rangers. They played each other again a week later. You knew there was going to be a fight the second the puck dropped. You didn't know who, and they'll put out like the players that are going to fight. The puck drops, and then they just beat the crap out of each other.
And then could anybody take the puck in that moment and score?
Nah, it's over at that point. Like then they're just fighting. Like
nobody's gonna
blow their
like
whistles, but
nobody's gonna go and try to score. And do the referees break it up, or does somebody just lose a tooth?
Eventually, they break it up.
You couldn't. There's, besides the fact that there's literally blades on their feet. Like I don't know how you could come between those two like people fighting. And also, do they train in boxing or something to get good at the fighting part?
I think there are fighters in the NHL that there's like techniques to fighting. So like, which I don't really understand. You're like punching somebody in a like plastic and metal helmet, but whatever. But if you get the helmet off, then you'll often see hockey players try to pull the back of the sweater over the front of their head, so you can then punch them without them seeing.
Oh my God.
I mean, there's not as much fighting in hockey as there used to be, in fairness.
And
Like,
is that a bad thing? I feel like there's a big
it's
debate.
a good thing. It's a good thing.
Okay.
I mean, maybe
Like,
it
there's
exists in the
actually more
minor-
how can a sport be like governed by sort of like non-rules based bare knuckled punch? But in the lower,
the argument is that if you have a fighter on your team, you're less so like in football, they're trying to take these crazy hits out of the game, right? But the only way they can do it is by penalizing and fining millionaires. It doesn't really happen that effectively. And maybe it is over time as they teach new people. But in hockey, you put an enforcer on the team to prevent people from going after your best players. It's almost
so
like
deterrence.
Enforced. It's deterrence, exactly.
So you're just using foreign policy principles.
Or
That's
just
exactly
like
how
a
they
bodyguard.
think about it.
Which is part of the show. It's part of the show is they do.
Well, that's exactly it. They bring them in, right? They want to fill them up. They bring the gyms in, and even like there's a different type of player, like Jolo, the rapper.
Mhm.
He's like a super tough guy, but he can also play.
He
So
can
he
score.
might
Because he
legally
fights
hit
a
you
bunch.
hard. He can play. Yeah, they can all fight because they're like minor league guys, but
Okay.
like you see them in like the alley brawls too. Like
Got
they're
it.
super tough guys, but he can actually play too. So there are players that like the most coveted players, or some of the most coveted players, are the ones that are super tough, that can fight, that can hit hard, but also play.
Got it.
They're
Now,
few and far between.
who are there any from like us growing up that fit that mold?
I never played like full checking other than like the 3 weeks that I played it, and then realized that it was more fun to go out with my friends on Saturdays than play hockey. So,
All right,
but like I see it here in Samson's hockey, like these guys are going to hit. Like holy cow!
Really?
wow.
Not yet, but when they get
All right.
older, oh yeah.
All right, let's get into our game. So I've created a variation of Buy Rent Man. This is called Frylander, and it's a
Am I
play
supposed
on,
to understand what that means?
yeah, it's a play on Highlander. You can only buy one. There can only be one Highlander. Get it? They're
No,
gonna
is
be-
it
It's way too
fried?
cerebral for me. I didn't
Why
get
is
that.
it fry?
We're
Because-
redoing that name.
No, because it's Friday
Clearly,
night
none of
movie.
us got it.
No,
Friday-
we're not. We're
Oh.
redoing that name.
Highlander.
Terrible.
Okay. Anyway.
No.
It's awful.
Okay. So we're gonna this is actually it's gonna be a one-on-one situation. You can only buy one. And I'm gonna start with the coaches here. Even though and this is Sanganet, who, by the way, I think one of the really cool things about this show is the Canadian representation overall. You have First Nations actors,
The
and
First Nations piece is super cool because there aren't a lot of players that have made it to the NHL. Actually, one of the gyms is a First Nations player who made it to the NHL.
that's
Yeah,
really
get
The
out.
third
in
gym.
real
The
life.
third gym.
Yeah,
that's really
Yeah.
cool.
they
So
reference that.
So that's a big component of the fabric of the society. You have French Canadians, you have English people, you have folks from the Maritimes, and they're all interacting in
East
this way.
Coast. I love how
Yeah.
he keeps calling it from the East Coast.
It's so
Like
great.
anybody would call Ontario, Quebec the East Coast,
Yeah.
but in
But
Canada there's
that-
more East Coast.
But the
Love that.
way everybody interacts in this, everyone has their different way of talking about everything, but everyone understands each other for the most part, except JJ, who doesn't understand any of the insults.
But I
that are-
love that they speak hardcore Quebecois French to the
Yeah.
English people, and they all understand it
Yeah.
perfectly.
because that's
but
that's
they
pretty
don't
realistic.
speak French, which is hilarious.
But,
they rarely
we
speak
know,
French.
but we know from growing up in Montreal that it's 100% accurate that somebody is speaking to you in French and you're speaking in English and you understand each other. You're just not going to speak the same language.
Yeah, exactly. So okay,
That
so
is-
let's put Sanganet, who gets anointed as the coach pretty early on. Now, this is how you got to put him up against Ted Lasso, then Coach Beard, and then Nate. Okay, so Sanganet or Ted Lasso?
Sanganet.
You buy him over Ted Lasso?
Oh no, Ted Lasso! Come on.
Ted Lasso
Lasso.
season 1 or Ted Lasso season 2? If it's Ted Lasso
Doesn't
season
matter.
1, I buy Ted Lasso. If it's Ted Lasso season 2, I buy Sanganet.
I'll say
Wow.
this: Sanganet at least has been playing the sport, but Ted Lasso. But I do take
I like Ted
Sanganet
Lasso.
over Coach Beard and Nate by a long shot.
Yeah, over Coach Beard and Nate for sure. But
Okay, all right.
but yeah.
I agree. I liked Coach Beard until we had the weird.
Oh,
Like
interstitial
girlfriend,
episode of Coach
the
Beard
weird
was,
girlfriend
the
storyline, they
worst.
ruined him.
Yep.
Nobody
Agree.
asked for that.
now, okay, so I didn't really know enough about soccer to know if they were brawlers. So I just took the Jims and Sam from from Ted Lasso.
The gyms for sure.
Gyms.
The gyms more than Sam season 1 is pretty amazing. Sam season 2 is
it's hard to distinguish. I do like Sam, but he's a cheesy character, so I'm gonna go with the gyms are more fun.
The gyms are more fun, but they don't have as much depth.
They don't have a character. They don't have depth to their character. Okay. It's hard to say that.
All right, now here's two that I think really line up a little bit more, and this is Michaels, who is the like fancy goalie who was the coach who gets fired, who wears the tight like French Canadian underwear.
Oh my god!
I have to go with him because that
so
scene
funny.
is I was dying, so I have to go with him because there's any scene where there's like a little bit of genitalia like sticking out of an underwear that's my algorithm. I was dying.
Him versus Jamie Martin.
But I'm gonna go with Jamie because Jamie has such a great arc that we really see growing.
But does his penis ever stand like a little bit out of his underwear? No.
I agree with that.
Just a little bit of penis out of the underwear.
Jamie
I was dying.
So engaging over time. Like he's a good part of the show.
You know what they just need to do is like have a scene where he accidentally has some penis to
But I do like Michaels. Like the Shorzy Michaels banter is hilarious, and I like that Michaels is like, I'm doubling down. I'm going to make these guys like me, and then he gets the weird brothers, which is hilarious.
That was really great, and his acceptance of the whole girlfriend thing. I mean, he was at first he annoyed me, and then he kind of grew on me. Also, man, that guy's face is just so incredibly Canadian.
Yeah. So Canadian.
All right, so this is like very niche, but it's a little bit for my sisters. This is I don't know what you guys tell me what this category is, but Laurence LeBeouf, I say cameos in a way. Laurence LeBeouf, and then in
cameos
and then in season 2, ER doctor played by Sophia Barclay.
Sophia
forever.
Oh my god, don't even start with me. It's Sophia Barclay for life.
Gotta pick Sophia. Josh, there's only one right answer.
No, I have to agree.
Okay.
All right. Now let's go with love interests. We have Laura Moore.
Is she a love? Is she? I guess.
Who is she? Remind me who she is.
She is the reporter who.
Sorry, Laura Moore. Sorry.
Who Shorzy is.
Him. Yeah.
Well, who Shorzy is like really, he's sincerely into her.
I would treat you so. I'd wake up in the morning and just be treating you well.
Yeah. I'd wake up next to you and treat you so.
Yeah.
Because he's such a foul person, but he's so nice to her.
But also
one of my favorite
with
bits.
The parents. Are you guys when he didn't call their parents? What kind of person gets on a plane and doesn't call their parents?
I guess you're the fancy types I guess you're the fancy types that take airplanes every week. You don't need to call your parents when you land.
That was so brilliant.
It moves him to call his parents. It's amazing.
What I was going to say is my favorite bit when it comes to women and the love interest is his like too young for me. You're about 17 years too young. If you're a bit older, like everyone is too young. When
they're like, what are the girls like? And he's like, I don't know. I don't go for girls or whatever. He's like, just I could tell you what the women think of me.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
And there's like a running bit about how he dates like older women. I'm pretty sure she's his age, right? So I mean, but her versus Keely, I still got to go Keely. They haven't given us enough of Laura Moore yet.
Yeah, Keely. She hasn't been a deep enough part of the show.
All right. So
although they allude to her having more of a story, right? They allude to her like having her kids on the weekend or whatever. Like, there's probably more to come with her.
If they're going to give us 10 seasons of Shorzy, there's a lot we can do with the people we've been given so far. Okay, let's go with head office staff, Higgins versus Zig and Mig, who are the two sisters that work with Nat.
Here's my thing.
Higgins.
Here's my thing.
Really?
I love Higgins, but except for the line where I don't know if it's which one is saying it, but she keeps going, tough natives, that's redundant.
That's redundant.
I'm loving
Zig and
Mig. They all say it every single.
But she kicks it. They all say what it says it too. But I remember she kicks it off, and she says it like multiple times in that meeting. Yeah. And I love
both of them. I love both of them a lot.
Great, like when he invites the whole team over with his family, or when he's working out of the closet. Like he's such a good character in his aspirations.
Yeah, he's also done some bad things, so
it's fair, but he he's always he cares about beard.
I enjoy I mean, I agree with Josh, but I also really enjoy just them having written Zig and Mig.
Yeah, like there's a lot you're gonna get to do with them, and there's
Yeah.
one scene that I think shows you the potential, like the huge upside of those two characters, which is when they go to the league. And first of all, the fact that everyone in charge of the league is a woman was kind of amazing.
Well, like, the whole show is very like women are in power of a lot of the show. Like women are the smarter ones. Women are like in power. Like it's very cool.
They're running the show,
right? The hockey players are kind of have the derogatory names. The women are not. It's really. So
can we just say for a second, like the fact that bums in seat is said in seat is said bums.
It's such a Canadian word.
It's like or asses in seats. The fact that they're all straight facing bums in seats is bums in seats. So comforting.
All right,
but bums is like an 80s Canadian term.
Yeah,
it's the best.
Well, they're all older.
And so on the subject, the person who says bums in seats the most is Nat versus Rebecca in Ted Lasso award. You know that for which awards have been won for that character.
Yeah, I like Nat a lot, but I think Rebecca takes the cake.
Nat's still a little one-dimensional. I think she has, which served the story really, really well. But we'll have to see her grow over future.
They gave us some more towards.
They gave us some more towards the end about her mom and all that stuff. But the photo that you see, so I'm excited to see where they take her. But one season in, I'd go Rebecca. But she's amazing.
Rebecca's like a super deep principal character. Even though there are things that annoy me about Rebecca. Like the whole Sam storyline's annoying to me.
So awful.
But like the story with her
chemistry.
father and the husband and that's
true. There's a lot of depth, and her friendship with Ted is really, really, really wonderful. I think Shorzy and Nat have the potential.
Right? Like
that's true. Yeah. I think that Shorzy and Nat have the potential for a Ted Rebecca type of friendship because they seem to motivate each other, but we're not there yet. So yeah, you're right. You got to give it to Rebecca, but Nat and the actress who plays Nat,
she's from the 100.
The actor
of 100 fame. I'm the only person that watched that over the age of 20.
I watched like 2 seasons.
Taysa Tellis. I think she's fantastic in the show. All right, and now the big one. This is the hardest one of all. Your grumpy lead player, Shoresy versus Roy Kent.
Oh, that's so tough. I'm going to go Shoresy, though.
Shoresy, yeah. I think I'm going to go with Shoresy.
I think there's more to unpack in Shoresy. Ted, Roy Kent has like 2 dimensions. He's like the sourpuss older soccer player, but he's a softie inside. That's his whole character. I think Shoresy's got a lot more depth and places he can go.
When you do the family reunion, so you can get the backstory of him as a foster kid. And the incredible, so some very offensive things are said in that scene, but the comedic tool they use to kind of give permission to say those things of the social worker said it, no, she didn't. And then the foster father going, no, she did. She really did say that. And it's these like horribly offensive things. And the comedy of that scene, I think is done really well in a time when we're very cautious what's being written and who is saying things and how they're being said and representation. And it kind of does this dance in that scene of showing lots of different types of people. And
in a family
really,
together,
in a family, you troll each other and you tease each other, but in a loving, supportive way. And I just think that scene is when the foster father is giving the speech, I feel like they just knocked it out of the park in terms of that very delicate balance right now of how do you make these inappropriate jokes funny and somehow work. So I'm going to go out there and say that.
I think sorry, go ahead, Trey.
No, go ahead.
I think there's like a lot of similarities between the 2 characters actually in like what I love about Shoresy as it relates to the hockey pieces. He is the ultimate, like, even though he's a total dick to he's like such an asshole to them. He's still the ultimate team guy. Like he wants to win so badly, and I think
that's to lose.
And he hates to lose. He has integrity because as soon as Sanguinet becomes the coach, he can't say shut the fuck up. Like he's like he needs to like there's rules, and he respects those rules.
And he rewards Fish, right? He's like so mean to Fish, and Fish in that one game this is more of the terminology. He's like blocking the clappers, like blocking the slap shots. And he's like basically sacrificing himself for the team. So he's like, you are now like, you've graduated into, hey, you're the next guy up because you're willing to be the team player that we all are.
Blocking the clappers. Oh my God, Josh, there's so much we can learn from you.
All right. So let's wrap our conversation about Shorzy there. Needless to say, Hulu, Shorzy, the most fun.
Who knows what network is it's on in Canada? CTV?
Canadian friends have watched it, so
no, I mean it's it's probably on every channel in Canada. You know, like
it's CanCon. It's like, hey,
it has to air
30% Canadian.
And I'll just say Letterkenny, which is the universe that this comes from. I'm really enjoying that. It's a little bit, I felt like a slower burn, but it has a similar edge. And there is an episode, the third episode of the first season called Fart Book, that I need video of Lily watching that.
Fart Book?
Just watch that episode. I need a video of you watching that episode. Okay.
Amazing. Watch it together.
All right. Let's hit our Rex and shout outs. My biggest one is I can't say I read the book. I was going to read it, but then I listened to it on tape because the author actually reads it. And that is Badial's or Badil, depending on how you pronounce it. Jews Don't Count. This is probably the most profound, challenging, and empowering thing I've heard / read. I've heard him speak before on various interviews and things like that, but this is a really methodical explanation of unseen elements of anti-Semitism in both pop culture and political culture, principally in Britain and the United States. I think this is a must read or must absorb for anyone who is really interested in being empathetic to their Jewish friends. I'm not saying this speaks for me all the way through. In fact, there's things that he and I don't see eye to eye on, but in terms of a really, really powerful and useful way to understand things that aren't articulated very well, he articulates them amazingly. And like people like Sarah Silverman, for example, have quoted him a lot recently. And so I can't say enough about it. And he's a comedian, a British comedian as well. I can't say enough about how powerful and amazing.
I need a link to that because I'm not even sure where can I find whatever you're referencing?
I will send you a link. I'm gonna gift you you listen to Audibles, right, Josh? It's a 2 hour. Yeah. It's a 2 hour listen. It's as long as a podcast.
I can do it on double speed while jumping rope. It'll be great.
There you go. Okay. Then Allie and I saw Bullet Train delivers on its promise. When you see Bullet Train, you're reminded why all of these streaming action movies are not good. Because Bullet Train could easily be the same as any one of those. But every single actor in it brings it. Brad Pitt shares the scene with many different, much lesser known actors, but they all bring it.
It looked amazing.
And it has awesome. That 90s stylized violence humor. It's a Guy Ritchie movie without I don't want to be dismissive of Guy Ritchie, but without the Guy Ritchie tropes. Because I love Guy Ritchie's movies, but it doesn't have the fast forwards and the rewinds. It's pretty straightforward. It's very, very funny. It's very violent. Just delivers on its promise. We were so happy. We weren't bored at all. Highly, highly recommend if you want a fun movie. Then Allie and I did a double header last night. We watched Prey, and then Allie liked it enough that we rolled right into watching the original Predator.
Oh my gosh.
She did not like the original Predator as much as Prey. She was like, what is this? But Prey is solid. Well done. I think it's just really solid. Great documentary In Search of the Last Action Heroes is great around this whole conversation around Predator because it's about the rise and the fall of the muscle man action heroes of the 80s and 90s. Then I watched Hot Shots and Airplane with the kids. Hot Shots, I really liked Hot Shots when I was younger, but it was kind of dull on the rewatch. And then I just started Sandman on Netflix, which is very cool. Josh.
Sandman.
Yeah. Neil Gaiman's Sandman. Josh is on mute, I think.
All right. I've been watching
you go, Becky.
And season 2 of Mythic Quest, which is even better than season 1 in a rare occurrence that a season 2, which speaks well of it.
How great was the COVID episode?
So far, only good COVID episode I've ever seen.
And it was so good. Emotional and powerful and hilarious.
Phenomenal. Yes. So that's what I've been watching. And
right,
I rewatched RRR.
Josh, you're going to unmute?
I can go while he's
Just like
Well,
Josh
he's learning
is,
how to use his
everyone
phone.
should know that Josh.
No, I'm unmuted. I have to go pick up my child who my wife left at the hockey rink by himself.
So he'll
The
be
irony.
fine. He will
be
pick up
fine.
the clappers.
Yeah, just don't insult some refs or
He'll
something.
pick up the clappers and
Jot
squeeze
down
one out.
some-
He didn't get injured. Well, no, kudos
I
to
hope so.
Danielle actually for taking the kids. Sorry. What am I watching? Well, I was watching Shoresy. We just watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which I actually really enjoyed.
Super fun movie.
Was super fun. But I've been super engrossed in these books, honestly. So I've been reading a lot of books. Shy, as I texted Shy, a book is a place where
No, I read a book
people
last
put
week.
a collection of
You
letters
listened to a book.
together.
You listened to a
like
book.
words and
No.
letters.
Addison
It's like-
Cook, I
it's
read.
like a,
Okay, that's for
it's like
children.
a movie in your mind. A book is like a
Wow.
movie in your mind.
That
So
sounds
I've actually
terrible.
been reading this. I know.
I give it a meh.
series. I watched The Terminal List. I'm going to give that a solid C-. Don't
Ooh.
waste your
Oh,
time.
I did not make it through the first episode.
On the other hand, Reacher, which Howie recommended, is very solid and enjoyable. And partially, like that one, definitely like plays to its strength and is a really fun watch.
And I'm trying to make my way through The Boys, but I find it very slow.
Oh, I love season 3.
Really?
I loved season 3. I thought season 3 was the best season.
I'm like, I don't know. It hasn't hooked me like the other ones. So
All right,
I'm trying.
All right.
Lily.
Becky introduced me to a great movie, A Happening of Monumental Proportions. Is that correct?
Mhm.
It was directed by Judy Greer, who is the character actress that's in the best friend in every movie, and great cast. Who obviously I assume she's friends with all these people that they're in this movie. It's a sweet, fun movie just to watch. It like did its job. It was perfect late night movie to watch and
It's
not
funny.
have
It's
to
really
like,
funny.
have nightmares or anything. It was great. That is all.
All right. And Becky, where can people follow you?
At Paper BK Princess on Twitter.
And Lily, where can people follow you?
Chichi K Gomez on Twitter.
Josh, do you want people to follow you?
You can, but you won't find very much at Josh Kroo.
All right. And you can follow me
On
at
Twitter.
Pancake and the number 4
On Instagram.
table on Twitter and Instagram, at Friday Night Movie on Twitter and Instagram. Huge thank you to Josh for joining us for this episode. And to my sisters, great to see you. Talk to you later. Love you guys.
Bye.
Music is by What Does It Eat? Bye-bye.
Get that biscuit.